Yo, what's poppin', people? Your boy Snacks is back in the building with another banger. And y'all know, before we get started, we gotta give props to the people that take the time to watch this video. But while you're here, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and let us once again enjoy all the wonderful things that you have to say in the comment section. So leave your comments down there so we can all have something to discuss while we're enjoying this video and even after, and even come back 2 or 3 days later and drop some nuggets up in there. But y'all know it's the Shedeur hype train. Colin Cowherd got some wise words or something, depending on how you take it. It is what it is. Let's jump into it real quick. Okay, now Colin Cowherd on Fox of the Colin Cowherd show thinks that Jimmy Haslam got Shedeur for the hype, not for the quarterback play. But regardless of the case of what he was brought in for, Shedeur is that guy. He is that man. He is just that good at the quarterback position. So you might have got him here for one thing, but he's going to do another. He's going to show you how they get down. Colin Cowherd says Shedeur is the hype train. He's here just for the hype. He's here because all the people follow him, including the CU aunties. We always got to shout out the lovely ladies of the CU aunties for taking the time out and leaving their wonderful comments and sharing the videos and doing all of the things. But let's listen to Colin and hear what he got to say.
Okay, Shedeur Sanders has two things going for him. And don't kid yourself, this is how the league works. The owner of the Cleveland Browns, Jimmy Haslam, is really impulsive. He drafted Johnny Manziel over better quarterbacks. He drafted Baker Mayfield. He signed Deshaun Watson to a ridiculous guaranteed deal despite all sorts of allegations personally against him. Horrible contract. Probably the league's worst contract. And in a quarterback room with zero star power, except Shedeur Sanders, he's going to get a chance. And I mean, this is a owner. They don't have the Steelers roster or legacy. They're not as well run as Pittsburgh, and they don't have Joe Burrow. So that's the first thing. There's a lot of belief in the NFL that Jimmy Haslam is the reason that of all the teams, Cleveland finally drafted Shedeur Sanders. He is desperate to be recognized and for star power. The second thing Cleveland has going for it, Shedeur has going for it, is Cleveland's roster is the weakest.
Now hold on. Let's stop it right there, because Jimmy Haslam is desperate for star power. That might be true, because he is not the Dallas Cowboys, which you just need the star. The star promotes itself in Dallas. Cleveland Browns have not won in a long time, and they've had superstars on their team. Nick Chubb just come off the team. One of the best running backs that they've had in a long time, with a very recognizable college pass, was a superstar coming out of Georgia. But Shedeur Sanders' superstardom is on another level, and he hasn't played a down in the NFL. But he brought us the likes of Johnny Manziel. You can't fault him for getting Johnny Manziel with the number 1 overall pick coming out of college. You can't fault Haslam for that, because Manziel was a superstar and he was a good football player. He just didn't do all of the other things to become a great football player. He didn't study. He didn't read his plays. He didn't do shit. Johnny just wanted to party and get high and knock all the women down. But that was him. Baker Mayfield was a good quarterback, as we see now in Tampa. Maybe it was just the situation. Maybe it was just the coaching. They just changed their strength and conditioning staff around this season. Had people on that staff for over 20 years. Maybe it was just not changing things in-house that kept everything else stifled and bad around the players. Because evolution requires change. And for you to get better and to elevate and come up with the modern times, you have to make changes. They've had a plethora of coaches. They've had a substantial amount of quarterbacks, 40 plus. But what they haven't garnered are wins. Joe Flacco led them to the playoffs a couple of years ago, but that was happenstance. It's not consistent. It's not Mike Tomlin consistent, who has never had a losing season for the 19, 20 years he's been in Pittsburgh. The Buffalo Bills changed up a lot of things and now have become relevant yet again. But Cleveland is always that one team that my big brother is a hell of a fan of. And I get to bash the shit out of him every year. Even though my Cowboys have sucked for almost 30 years, they still haven't been Cleveland Browns bad. Nobody in the NFL had. The Baltimore Ravens took a couple of years off. But for the last 20 years, the Patriots have held the mantle. Tom Brady in them. Early 2000s until now. They were stewards of the ship. Eagles and Kansas City are holding the torch because they got good teams. And Andy Reid ain't no joke when it comes to this football. But if you brought Shedeur here just for stardom, you will be misunderstood because he is a star, but he's also a good quarterback. But that you will learn. But let's finish listening to the ridiculousness.
Easily in the division, and the early schedule is brutal. Not only are 5 of the first 6 teams they face playoff teams, but the first 5 teams they play are all top 10 offenses, and there's a lot of flashy quarterbacks. Jordan Love and Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson. So you think old Joe Flacco, dull Kenny Pickett, small Dylan Gabriel, when the team's getting beat 33-17, and the quarterback for the Browns looks small and old and average against exciting Jordan Love and Lamar Jackson, or brilliant Joe Burrow, or again, highly productive Jared Goff. Even in week 6, it's Aaron Rodgers, who will be the biggest star in the building. So my prediction, you start looking at that schedule between week 7 and 10, Shedeur Sanders is going to get a shot here. Shedeur's on this roster because Jimmy Haslam wanted him on the roster. But I'm going to make a prediction here. Haslam is starving for a star quarterback. He doesn't have the Ravens roster. He doesn't have Burrow. He doesn't have the Steelers brand. It's a weak roster that really, I mean, they're an injury or 2 away, maybe 1 injury away from having the weakest wide receiver room in the league. Cross your fingers with Jerry Jeudy staying healthy. So this is a team that's going to be boring offensively. You know what will make him not boring? Shedeur Sanders taking snaps, win or lose.
Let me tell you something about that. It doesn't matter what that receiver room looks like. Shedeur Sanders will make those receivers better. I understand that a lot of y'all didn't watch Shedeur play college football, but you need to go back and watch the tape. He took receivers from South Florida and made them great. got him drafted into the NFL. Took receivers that were good, that no one was pruning for, and made them into superstars. Jimmy's a superstar. Zay's a superstar. LeJohntay's a superstar. Will's a superstar. Travis was a superstar when he came out of high school. That ain't Shedeur. That's Shedeur and Travis, you know. But he takes average receivers and makes them better because he knows how to play the game of football. They say it's just the hype. They think Shedeur is just a hype train. And when the lights come on, it's what makes Shedeur better than most, because he's calm under pressure. He doesn't fold when that pocket is closing in on him. When that defensive lineman is full speed ahead, about to put his helmet in his chest, he steps forward, makes that throw, and takes that lick. Most quarterbacks will get happy feet. Shedeur doesn't do that. But Maggie and Perloff, once again, are back at the stupidity. Perloff is just a hater at this point. He doesn't like Shedeur. He doesn't like all the hype surrounding Shedeur. He doesn't think Shedeur has earned the right to have this hype.
Be yourself. You try to have a little bit of swagger, not in a bad way, in a good way. I think other guys on the team start to see that, and I think they might like it. I think this could end up being a positive for him. I'm not saying he's a vibes hire. I'm just saying you want the full Shedeur. So he does something good. He throws up the wrist celebration. That could be something that the locker room actually likes.
There's actually a practice squad long snapper who's got a great personality for the Eagles. Like, he's a fourth string quarterback at a 7-on-7 drill, and you're talking about his celebration. Doesn't that strike you as odd?
I'm not. The Athletic is.
We are overhyping a kid who is on the fourth string of a 3-win team. We're overhyping him. And it's like, we're not going to give him a chance. He's going to get out there and throw one incompletion, and everyone, because when we build a guy up, we're just doing to tear him down.
They don't want the hype. They don't want to see the wrist up. They don't want him to be great. But when you got WNBA superstars like Caitlin Clark out of nowhere, just bam, in your face on an average Saturday before a basketball game, the hype is everywhere. He just did it. He didn't ask the world to catch on, but they did. Just like everybody tried to say that in the draft process and wanted to punish him for being him. You can't punish him for having people that like him that much. You punishing him for being good at what he does and having people like him for being good at his job. What kind of mess is that? It's just like punishing a hen for hatching, for making eggs. That's her job. But you mad at her because she good at it. She didn't make just one egg today. She made 5. And everybody else in the hen house made 1. That's stupid. It's like you got 3 children. And your one child, all of them are doing the same thing. They're cleaning up their room. They're doing their chores. Your other child is finished. The other 2 are still working on their rooms and vacuuming and making up their bed and picking up their trash. But one child is done, sitting on his bed watching TV, eating chips. You gonna get mad at that child for doing what he's supposed to do. But those other 2 are not done yet. You can't make them look bad. Yes, you can. That's what they're supposed to do. Everybody's not the same. Everybody doesn't have the same talent. everybody doesn't have the same greatness. Y'all mad at Shedeur because he don't have Deion speed. He can't do that. Y'all hit the like button, man. That's stupid. That's stupid. You can't be mad at him for not being great. Shedeur is a fifth round quarterback, drafted. But you see that face? You see who's advertising for the Cleveland Browns. You don't see Joe Burrow. You don't see third round pick Dylan Gabriel for the Cleveland Browns advertising their training camp collection. Where Lil Hands at? Kenny Pickett, where he at? His face ain't out there. But that fifth round quarterback, the one with all the hype, y'all dislike. But we getting out of here, man. I can't keep going on these tangents because I be going hard. And I still want to do one more video today. I might. Then again, I might not. But I'm gonna get out of here, man. Y'all make sure y'all hit the like button, hit the subscribe button before we get out of here. We shout out the CU1Ts. I like shouting out the CU1Ts because they've been doing their thing for a long time. And I've been supporting them. I even go by the podcast when they drop by. I just be in there in silence doing my thing, watching, hanging out. You know, you do your thing. Shout out to the CU1Ts and everybody else that supports Shedeur. Y'all make sure y'all hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your comments in the comment section. We're going to do our thing. And this time, I'm going to let Prime take y'all out of here.
God bless you all, man. Be safe.